Great. So we've got a good crowd coming in, so we can get started. Wanted to welcome you to this morning's webinar. Afternoon to some people in the UK if you're here. Thank you so much for joining early on the West Coast. Do want to start off with a quick safe harbor statements. Any forward-looking information that we share, assumptions we may change. There's unforeseen unknown risks that could occur. And we just want to make sure that you're aware that things could change in the roadmap if we do have questions or information that is shared that could impact future releases. But there's some really great news of things that we've already announced that we're already are in the store, and Oswin's going to walk you through that. Please be sure to join us at any future webinars. You can use this QR code to log in and get the information. There's also a interactive series going on all the time, so definitely make sure that you're aware of those, signing up for them in the community, and making yourself aware of all the enhancements that are happening, both with this store release and with Vancouver coming. So thanks for joining us today. I'm Rosalind Morville. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager for BCM, and Oswin is joining us as the Principal Marketing Product Manager, sorry. He covers both BCM and the Ops Res products. So he's a wealth of knowledge. So if there's questions to ask, please do so in the Q&A. You're automatically muted when you come in. So as I said, please use the Q&A feature to ask questions. We are welcome to chat with other participants as you go in the chat session, but the Q&A will be captured and we can follow up with anyone whose questions we don't get to during the live session. After the session ends, you will be prompted to do a short survey. And we just use this for enhancing our programs moving forward. So please, if you could fill that out, that'd be great. And the session will be recorded and shared in the ServiceNow community forum after it's closed. So I'm excited to show you some of the enhancements to the risk applications that are now in the ServiceNow store. But just be aware that all of the risk products that were updated for the store are available now, and you can check those out. If you don't want to figure it out yourself, we have a lot of walkthroughs that we'll go through like this one over the course of the next few weeks. So today is obviously business continuity management. We have third-party risk management coming up on the 15th. We'll be doing a risk management, that's the IRM product, on the 17th. Compliance case management on the 22nd. And then we'll conclude that with policy and audit management and core on the 24th. So sign up in the community for those events. We'd be happy to have you, and all questions are open for the field. So definitely let us know what you'd like to know about. But what we're here to talk about today is the reimagined user experience or business continuity management. We're really excited to bring this to you. It gives a lot of efficiencies and productivity gains for your teams with a new modern UI UX. There's configurable persona-based workspaces, there's new dashboards, and with this new workspace, we have some seamless integrations where that will be able to be used with other ServiceNow applications to monitor your impacted assets, communicate impacted people, and drive recovery actions in the case of a crisis. So really excited to share this with you today. What this means to your team, as I said, this increases your team's productivity, and we're hoping that it will enable broader adoption across functions with a more consumer application-like user experience. There are configurable workspaces that will tailor to your business needs, but avoid those customizations that get sticky sometimes. And this also enables us to, as I said, get better together use cases with other applications in the ServiceNow platform. So Oswin, if I could send this to you and let you share your screen to give a demo, that would be fantastic, because I really think we want to dig into some of the material.
Yep, sure. Just give me a second. Let me share my screen. And we can get into the demo. I hope you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I've logged in as one of the users in the business continuity management latest workspace. So the first thing you will notice is if you go to the workspaces in the top menu, you'll see one more workspace coming up that's called the business continuity workspace. Either you can access this from here, or you can go into the style where we can go and search. That is, you can search by the workspace name, and you'll also get that link here, right? Both are going to end up on this page when you log in for the first time. We are calling it the home page, right? And this is like a canvas where we have added out of the box reports and visualizations like charts, but you will be able to go ahead and modify this as well. You can configure additional reports, you can change the layout, and so on. By default, when you start using the product, the first thing you will start seeing is the crisis events, right? And there's a banner at the top where the user can change, or the administrator can change the welcome message. There's a short welcome note and a message here for the logged in user, right? And the user can choose to close this banner as well. So those are the additional configurations for the user preference, right? And get more real estate for looking at more data. The first thing you will notice is an dashboard for crisis events, right? So these are the adverse events that are happening in and around your organization. So we thought we need to give it its own real estate, right? So when there is a crisis event happening in your organization, all eyes are on it. Chances are people are not looking at other things where things are business as usual. Once these are handled and tackled, then people will want to move into the other things. That is business as usual processes and activities, right? So we have split the dashboards into 4. The first one is the crisis event, and you will see there is an card layout at the top, right? So this is based on the statuses of the events. So the very first one is in progress events. Like I said, again, giving importance to ongoing stuff, the adverse events, right? So as soon as you log in, this is selected by default, and you can see what those 2 events are, right? And these are all interactive. So when you start moving, the events on the list report beneath this card view will refresh, and the user can go into details from here. Wherever you see there's a blue link, you'll be able to click and go into the next level of detail. Basically, a double-click view of the event can be got. And apart from the in-progress event, this is already completed recovery, and it is sent for either an approval or someone has returned it, etc. Right? So you'll start seeing those statuses here, and you'll be able to click on any of the card at any point in time and look at the details coming up for that. That is the first part in the crisis events dashboard. And you'll be able to see there's a report crisis button. So this is the quick action button for the users. So they'll be able to click on report crisis, and that'll start a new crisis event in the system. We'll look at that in a minute once we are done with the dashboards. Yeah. There is a monitoring and tracking of ongoing events. So you'll be able to see how many assets are impacted because of these 2 events, and how many of them have been recovered, how many of them are still not started recovery, etc. You can also see how many plans have got activated and by their status, whether they are in work in progress, they're completed, they're yet to start, and so on. And these plans will have internally tasks, right? So you can see the number of tasks, 12 tasks are there that are currently being activated because of these 2 plans, which are linked to these 2 events, right? Or assets, and these assets are impacted because of these 2 events. So, and then based on their statuses, current statuses, at any point in time, you can click on any piece of this pie and you'll drill deeper into those tasks, and you can look at the details there. So that is your crisis events part. Now, if you have a good understanding of this one, it's the same standard that we have followed, the pattern that we have followed for all other dashboards as well. So this is business impact analysis, typically a business as usual day process or an activity, right? People are going to be doing your BIAs when there's no crisis event happening in the organization. And if you see here, there's a slight change, like it's not in progress ones, but we want to see everything. That's the first card. You can see the ones in draft. We can look at things that have been returned, pending approval. Some things have got expired. So you can follow up with the owners of these, ask them to say, review these ones, and so on, right? So you'll be able to take an action from the dashboard by following up with those people. So that's the first section. Here also there's a create BIA button, which you can use to launch a new BIA. And at the second section, or the second half of this dashboard, there's monitoring and tracking. Here, since there's a lot of assets in the CMDB, it can be an application, it can be an system, it can be process service offering. Many of our customers are using it in different for different BIS or application impact analysis or technical impact analysis as well. So we've added a filter here. If say someone from the applications team is going to come in, they'll select the applications and the application BIS related items will load up here, right? If they are from, let's say, the business team, they'll typically select the business process and you'll be able to see the business processes, how many of them have 8 hours, 0 to 8 hours as their RTO, 0 to 1 hours as their RTO here. There are 2, and then some of them don't even have an RTO in the system, right? So you can follow up with any of this and get them to complete these. Same thing by adjusted RTO. This is the calculated value. This is the human adjusted value. This chart is by the recovery tier 1, 2, 3, or business critical, and so on. Same way, you can flip this for any of these items, and you will be able to get that charts loaded here. So that's the BIA part. Like I said, this is the out-of-the-box charts and dashboards, but you'll be able to create more in this and pocket here based on your business team's needs. Business continuity plan, it's the same again. So we have all the plans listed. Then we have the drafts in review and so on. So at any point in time, you can click on any of these cards and you will get those plans loaded in the list view, right? You can also start a new business continuity plan from right here in the dashboard. The monitoring and tracking will tell you how many plans have been exercised, how many have not been. If the plans have been put through any of the actual crisis events, how many are there, how many of them have not. This will start counting when the actual events are closed, right? You saw there are 2 things that are in pending or in work in progress. That's why you're seeing this all 5S without events. When they are moved into approved and then so on, it will move from here to here. So that will give you a coverage of the plan. Have we tested some of these and have we put them through the actual event? So we get higher level of assurance that the plans will work, right? That is that part. And then finally, exercises. Exercises is same as the crisis events, but then this is an exercise mode, right? It could be a tabletop exercise or it could be an functional exercise. The different methods, you'll be able to see the ones that are in progress and in different states. You can start an exercise from here. And yeah, this is the same way you can track. There are 73 assets that have been put through an exercise and the currently ongoing exercises. One of it is recovered. There are 72 more that are yet to be recovered. There are 20 plans activated. One of them is closed. There are some more that needs to be closed. They're work in progress. Same thing with the tasks also, right? So the tracking for exercises and events happen at 3 levels. Basically, the exercise or the event assets that have got impacted, what is their recovery status? Then is the plan completion status, and then the task completion test status. These are the 3 levels in which the ongoing events and exercises can be tracked from the dashboard. For someone who's looking at the entire organization, all the events going on, they'll be able to track all of them from here. Okay, the next dashboard is the My Tasks. So this is something that you would have seen in other applications at ServiceNow. So BCM also has a My Task bucket now. You can configure additional containers like these dashboards, right? We have shipped it with 3 of them. My pending tasks will list down all the tasks that the logged in user is supposed to work on. So it can be from crisis events, BIS, BCPs, exercises, individual recovery tasks. All of that is going to be here. You'll be able to get that and you'll be able to work on those, right? And you can also do an bulk edit, basically. So it will open up an inline window. You'll be able to change some of these values as well. Let's say, like if you want to flip some of the task statuses to complete it, you can select multiple and then edit those. My items are the ones that the logged in user has reported. For example, if the user has reported an crisis event in the system and wants to know what happened to it, right? Is someone working on it? Has someone picked it up? And I want to follow up with whoever is having that assigned to them now currently. All of those items that I have started in the system will be under my items. And watch list are the things where I did not start them or it is not assigned to me, but then I'm somehow interested in those records. It could be a BIA, BCP exercise, any of those. Or if I am part of the workflow that may trigger later or has happened in the past, right? So all that stuff will go under the watch list. In addition to this, you can also create my favorites, favorite tasks, or you can pin them up. You can get those things added here as well. But by default, every user will have this when you just install this upgrade. So those are the dashboards that we have created. Let me see if there are any questions. We'll take them up and then we'll go into the record enhancements. Yeah. So there are some questions here, right? So all users will see all BIAs now. Not all users will see all BIAs. It's based on the roles. So there's no change based on the roles that we have done. The security model remains the same, right? There's no change in that. The main theme that we picked up for this release is enhancing the user experience, right? That is what we are going to look at. The second question is, can we add an RPO chart as well? Yeah, we can definitely add an RPO chart as well. The data is available. I'll walk you by that. If you would like a separate chart for that, we can get that added. So there's no native mobile application that we have released in the product itself directly now, but this is an responsive UI. So you can launch it in a mobile application and it will adjust itself, right? You don't have to pinch and expand in order to read the data. It will align with the available real estate. That is something that can be done. You can use this from the mobile app, mobile devices, but the mobile application is on the cards for upcoming releases. The legacy workspace does not go away when we upgrade to Vancouver. We still have maintained the legacy workspace as well. Both of them will coexist for you, right? And the legacy workspace, I don't know if you haven't received this yet, but there was a communication that was sent that when it will be sunset, right, deprecated. So I think it's easily 2 years from now. So you'll have this for easily 4 more releases. That is the legacy workspace, and Vancouver will coexist with that. That is on that one. What personas are available for BCM workspace? Yeah. So we have an business continuity program manager. We have a BCM manager, a BCM user, an admin, and a planner, right? So those are the user personas we have for BCM workspace, and each one of them have different levels of access. We can discuss that in detail. It's a matrix, like an Excel sheet. We can look at that. Yeah, I will explain you what has changed in terms of user experience. Just let's park that question for a minute. I'll take you by each of the screens, then you'll be able to see the difference. There is another question on, for the create BC plan, is there already a full templated plan where you just have to add the orgs info? Yeah, I'll show you that as well. So there are last 2 questions. One is from Christina and one is from someone else. So those 2 questions we will take them up. If there are additional questions, please add them to the Q&A. I'll walk you by the enhancements in user experience and so on now, right? So these are the list views. And this is similar to what we had in the legacy workspace, the 4 different modules, right? We have not changed that, the columns, the filters, all of that, to make sure the users don't have to be trained again on using this, right? But if I go into one of the BIAs, Just give me a second. All right. So there is an overview tab that we have added. Earlier, there was a ribbon component at the top, right? So we had these charts added at the top of the BIA, which was taking up a lot of real estate. So we said we will give it its own dashboard, and we moved that here so we can increase the real estate for the user to fill out the BIA or the BCP or work on the exercises. We'll see those also in this demo. When you start a new BIA, earlier there was a small pop-up that will come up in your window where you fill in the mandatory information and start the entire process, right? We have done away with those small custom components. They were locked down and our customers were not able to configure additional details there. So there were around 29, 30 different components like that. All of them have been deprecated in this version. And we moved it to platform components. Now it's open for you guys. Instead of that small pop-up window that comes up, this is where the user will land, and the user will be able to fill out all these details. In addition to this, you can add additional fields, and you can see there is a entire real estate available right here. So you'll be able to add all of that and take it forward. Now, the enhancements in BIA, other than doing away with the custom components, right? So these are the assessments. In this case, I have picked up an service assessment. So basically, there's a RTO and dependency, but you don't have an RPO assessment for the service. Let's say if you have it for an application, that will come up as one more card. Sorry. And you can get a summary. In this case, this one is completed. There are 5 categories of questions. All the 5 have been answered, and the recovery time objective has been identified as 1 hour, right? That is the idea here. The user can launch the assessment itself. Earlier, we had grids or tables in the system. That has been replaced with a survey style questionnaire now. So you'd be able to see there are 3 questions. I'm going to delete these just so that we can walk you by how this will be initially when the user logs in, and we can fill this up, right? So you'll be able to see that it is 0 by 3. And the state is pending because I just deleted these, right? And you can see this is 4 by 5 categories completed. So there are 5 different categories. Those are represented as the cards on the left side, and the questions are on the right side. So you'd be able to add more fields to each questions and to the entire category of questions itself. So when you click on the card, you will see the category name at the top. There is a help text that you can provide at each category level. And in this case, I've added only 1 line, but you'll be able to add an entire paragraph here to handhold your users, right? The end goal is to make sure the business users are able to fill out the BIS correctly. You'll be able to provide a text at this level. And for each question, you can change the question, how it is phrased, right? And the question itself. And then there's a help for the question also. So each question can have a different text or a help, for example, right? So because we made this look like a survey and we gave this entire thing its own real estate, you'll be able to configure all of these things. And these are also platform components. So you don't have to be restricted with what the product has. You can configure additional things here. And the way that the user will fill this out is, earlier there was an edit button. The user will have to click on that, click on the cell that they had to edit, and select the value and save it, right? So there are multiple clicks that were involved. So we have done away with all of those. So the user can click on this and select a value, and you'll see there is an immediate feedback that the user gets. This bar gets filled up, right? That is, this is getting saved, and the mandatory ones will be highlighted in red, and you'll be able to see that this has got completed. And there's no save or complete buttons that we have added here. All of this is auto save enabled. So as and when the user clicks on the value and moves out, they'll get saved. And each question, what we also did was we did see that our customers are adding an additional field to capture the rationale behind why the user selected this value, right? So in this release onwards, we have added an optional field for additional note from the users. at each question level. You can make this option mandatory also based on your requirement. That's a simple configuration by the administrator. And we have two more fields here by default available, which is hidden, right? And it's available for the admin. So you can enable that, and you can say this data needs to be pulled in, for example, from certain table in ServiceNow, and that can get pulled in and that can get auto-populated as well. So we have that for every single question that's added. And you can see that it can be either expanded by the user by clicking on each of this, or by default, if the admin wants it to be open, all of these questions, it can be open for every single question. And when the user is filling this out, they can choose their preference, right? I don't want to see all these optional questions. I'll just keep up with the mandatory items. They can collapse all. They can fill in the mandatory items, move out of the system, or move out of this assessment, right? There'll be a next and back buttons. The user can move from one category to the other by clicking on that category. That's one natural way of interaction, right? Or if they want to use the back and next button, they can use this also. This will just shift the focus from one category to the other again. So this is an alternate way that you can move across categories. And that is your recovery time objective, right? Let's look at some more. That's the dependency assessment. So the dependency assessment also, we have taken from grids and put it as cards on the left side and provided much more space for the actual records. So now you don't have to have an awkward scroll within a small grid to view more than, like, let's say 20, 30 different application dependencies. So all of them you can manage here. This is a user preference again. By default, it's 20 records per view. So they'll be able to see all of that. The additional things that we had in the previous releases, the user will have to open each record to edit the data, right? So if you want to change the recovery time objectives or the description of use, etc., the user had to change those one by one. So in this version of the platform, there's a bulk edit, delete, all of that enabled. So I can select that. And if you see here, let's pick any of this and this, right? So I can go ahead and say, this is 1 hour, and I can update it. So the user will get again a feedback immediately. If it was a successful edit, a green color box with a message. If there was something wrong that went during the filling out of this, they will see a red color alert message, and all of this value will get updated. The user would also be able to double click and edit this. Just give me a second. I think it's not enabled on this one. That's a system property again, where you want to enable inline edit. So that also got added in the latest version of platform, right? All these features that you're looking at, this is in the latest version of the platform itself. We've just enabled it in the BCM application, right? So you have all of those usability items here itself. Or if you want to see only one item at a time, but you don't want to move away from this list, right? Just as an example, I can launch the preview. It'll load here an inline form, and I can look at all the details of that particular item. I can fix this, and then I can move out of that, and I can move to the next item as well. The same one can be used for multiple items at one shot, and I can edit those as well, right? So I'll be able to pick up and update multiple of these items at one go. So those are the enhancements in the dependency assessments. In the dependency assessments, again, we have maintained some of these features where you can get it pulled from the CMDB and add it into the BIAs. All of that has been maintained. And as and when you complete and you go back, you will know from this summary itself whether this is pending, how many are completed, how many sections are still yet to be done, right? So those are the enhancements in the BIA. Basically, we reduced the number of clicks that is needed in the recovery time assessments and recovery point objective assessments. And we removed all those additional clicks by taking away the save, edit, complete, all those buttons. And we enabled, the survey-like view where the user gets this information one block at a time. Easy to digest. They'll be able to complete it one category at a time, and then you can provide them enough of help, question level, category level, and so on. Or you can also ask them to provide more details on their choices, right? That's one part. The other part is the dependency assessments. We made all of that inline, editable, because we have seen some of our customers having a process to application dependencies. Like an application dependency can be like there are dependencies on 40, 50 and more applications, right? So they want to see all of them at one go and also be able to easily manage all of them, not like clicking one by one and then editing them. So those are the enhancements here that we have done in the BIAs. We can go to the plans. We will look at the plan. Okay, before that, if there are any questions, let me answer those. The fully templated version of the plan is the first question from Christina. I'll answer those. We will look at how the template can be pulled in. And Christina also has a question on, can this be pulled in from CMDB? I think I showed you that, right? Update from CMDB. That is the UI action, which will pull in from not just applications, but for all the categories at one shot. So it's a user choice to pull that in. They can pull it in, and whatever has been pulled in from the CMDB, you will see that it has an column where you can see from where it got pulled. And there'll also be one more called as sorry, just give me a second, let me see. Source, right? You can add that column and that will show up as CMDB here also. So we can simply go in, the administrator can add that column here. So you'll see that if it is getting pulled in from the CMDB, it will come up like this, right? If it is coming up from the BCM, somebody adds it directly here. So that will reflect as BCM. So that is that part. I think that is answered.
There was actually a question about, while you're on that screen, how does the update CMDB button work?
How does that work? Okay, I can remove this. Just a second. Sorry about that, guys. So let's quickly remove these things and. So initially, when you are in the assessment, all of this will be 0, right? I don't want to change everything. It'll just take time. We'll just take this example, but it'll apply to everything, right? Let me see if there's any data other than this. Okay. So if I click on this, it'll look up the primary item that I'm trying to assess. In this case, it's a service, right? You go to the service record, it'll see if there are applications related to that service, if there are hardware, software, any of the CIs, right? It'll look up for all of those and it'll pull it into the appropriate categories here. That's how this works. Every time I click on this, it'll check for the latest changes and updates in the CMDB and pull it in. That's how this works. Okay. Will we be able to have more than one plan template? Yeah, I'll take that up when we look at the plans. We're still at BIAs. Change the weighting of the questions. We have not included a weighting of the questions here in this release. In this release, all the questions are maintained the same. But what we have done in the BIAs is we have provided the user who is taking the BIA a method to override by adjusting this recovery time objective and recovery point objective or recovery tiers. So those are enabled by default in the results section. But there's no weighting as such that we have introduced in this release. The capability to exchange, I'm sorry, I think Assessments, one second, I just lost track of the questions. Please bear with me. The next question is, assessments are designed within BCM or using Survey Designer. This is within BCM. Is there a capability to export this detail per BIA? Yeah, so you can export it as a PDF file, which we already have released. You'll be able to see that the PDF file has everything that was enabled, right? So one second, I don't know if I'm sharing this. So if you can see here, by default, I have a template for the export as well. You will be able to see the details of the BIA, what got assessed, when was it, who did it, what was the recovery time objective, what was the recovery tier, what was the answers provided by the users for every category question. You'll be able to change the font, background, format it the way you need for your corporation, right? Corporate. So that is available by default, but the ServiceNow platform has the other methods, like you can pull it into a Word file or an Excel sheet, etc. So that is what is provided by default. One second, I was switching between screens. Just give me a second. Okay, so I'm back on the BIA. So you can set, so the next one is on intolerable question, right? So you can set what is a tolerable outage for your organization and what is not. So basically the intolerable outage is the one that the admin has set as it is not accepted, beyond which the RTO cannot go, right? So it picks up that, and that is used in the calculation of the RTO. The calculation of RTO is explained in the documentation, product documentation side. Please go over that. If you guys have questions, let me know. We can answer it over email or the community. Is the optional area restricted to a max character? Each one of this has its own properties, each fields, right? I'm not sure what is the optional area you are looking for. If it is the comment section, this pretty much will hold, I think, 4,000 characters or so, and you can also expand this, right? So yeah, that's the maximum size. So you'll be able to provide that answer here. What you can also do is the administrator can go ahead and change that field type to, let's say, a rich text field. Then it can also have embedded images, attached files, all of that. Okay. The SLAs on the dependencies can come in from the CMDB if you want to pull it up from there, or you'd be able to say requested SLA from the BIA itself, right? So that was one more question. Docsite include a summary of exactly how yeah, so the docsite we have included that now. So you should be able to get an answer there, how the RTO is calculated. Anthony has a question on, is there a way you can add more impact categories and dependency classes within while conducting the BIA? Not while conducting the BIA. The question was about whether we can add it when we are doing the BIA. We have not done that cautiously because we wanted it to be a standard across all teams in an organization, right? Otherwise, you will not be comparing the processes equally, because every process owner or service owner will add their own questions and make sure their process is of the highest importance and their RTO is the very aggressive one, right? Everybody will want to bring it down to 15 minutes, for example. So we wanted to standardize the questions for every process owner. So they provide the answers to those questions, and that can be used to compare process to process. And then you can say which ones are tier 1 processes, which ones are tier 2, which ones need more aggressive RTOs, which one doesn't. That is the reason behind it. But you can add an optional, category itself by the admin, but that will show up for all the processes again. So yeah. So the BIA, whatever attachments you are doing to the BIA will not be added to the BCP. The BIA will get linked. I'll show you how that happens. That part we will look at. How many levels of relationship is it evaluating? By default, it is 5 levels, but you can increase it to any number. We have restricted it to 5 for performance reasons, right? But you can export, you can increase it, extend it. Do we have links to related plan in the report exported PDF? The related plan, yeah, we will see that related plan now. That's the next section, right? All right, so there are additional questions here on the BIA. Let me go over the BCP as well. We'll run out of time, right? But at the end, we will take up these questions, as many as possible. Yeah. Planning. So this is the next one. Basically, let me open a plan. We'll quickly go over this, and then we can try spending more time on your questions. I'll open a plan. So the first thing you will see is there is a stepper component. This is the same from BIA also, right? Just to show you quickly if I have anything else in any of the other states. Okay, this one should have some. So if you see this, it will show you how many stages in the workflow has this record been successfully put through. These are all completed stages, and this is in progress. These are the upcoming ones, right? This visualization is added for all the records, BIA plans, exercises, crisis, all of them. You'll see this as a common thing. So you know what are those items that you are, what are the stages that are pending and how many are completed. So this is in draft. I picked up something in draft. That's why you're seeing only this one. Similar to the BIS, we have done away with all the custom components here also. It's all configurable now. You'll be able to provide the details of the plan, which business unit, department, who owns it, what type, all of that, right? Once you're done with this, we have introduced the scope. The scope we have split into primary and related. So when you say these are the primary items, in this case, I've picked up 2 applications. This is an application related plan, right? An ITDR plan. When you pull this in, if there are BAS related to it, those will get pulled in, and also the related assets. So in this case, there is a process being supported by one of my applications. This is the process. So what we do in the plans now is we will pull in both the upstream dependencies and the downstream dependencies. By default, the user can remove this, and this can be configured for, let's say, if you want to pull in only the downstream dependencies, you can pull only that. By default, it pulls in both, right? This is a new component that we released. And in this one, you will be able to configure the asset types that needs to show up. So for example, if you don't want the business process or services to show up in an ITDR plan, you can avoid this entry entirely, and you can only show the IT related items, right? Or if the other way around, if you want to create it as a continuity of operations plan, you want to keep processes and services, but you don't want the IT ones, you can avoid that. You can keep employees and locations. So these are the ones that are acting as a cards here, because this could quickly grow into a long list. We moved away from the card UI, and we included it as a simple, list here. So when I click on applications, I will be able to add more applications from the system, right? It will launch the selection window for selecting the applications, and I'll be able to add those, right? Same way, if I go to business processes, I'll be able to add from the business processes here. So I can select from the processes here. So in this way, what we did is, earlier we had a restriction where you'll be able to create a plan that has only coverage for applications, or that has coverage only for processes. So we have moved away from that limitation. You can create a plan that is covering for multiple different types of items in the one plan itself. So this is the documentation piece, where this will get loaded based on the template. There was a question where there are pre-filled templates, right? So the pre-filled templates will get loaded here. Basically, I'll show you when we create a new plan as well. So this sections, in this case, there are only 2, but even there's no cap size. You can have 10, 15, 20 sections that needs to be added by default. And the user can go in and say, these are the details of my organization within the content. So that is the idea. We moved from the older UI into the new one. One is keeping it standard, that is the left side cards and the corresponding items load on the right. And the other one is, earlier we didn't have the capability to insert a card between an existing, or insert a section between existing sections. You could always add it only at the end, right? We've created a simple solution for this release, but that will be enhanced ongoing, right? So if I create a new solution, a section, so I'll be able to see. So by default, there is a seed value of 0, and every section that gets created will be incremented by 100. But that's configurable by the admin. This is by default when you install this upgrade. You can, for example, say any number between 0 and 100, this should go and get inserted there. That was the idea. That is what we have done now, right? So this will go and sit there. And that's why the gap of 100 between sections, right? Order. Now, in the future release, we have also requested from the platform, and that will be enabled where you can drag and drop the sections. You don't have to work with the order field going forward. But for this release, because there are many customers who asked for this, we have introduced that. You'll still be able to achieve an desired order of the sections, even though the template has 3 or 4 sections and you want to add 2 more in between. You can still go and add that. So that is the documentation section part. And when we print out this plan, we have made sure there were some issues in the PDF file not following the same order. Right? So those are all fixed now. All of that has been taken care. You'll be able to generate a PDF output for this, and all of that should be getting pulled in as well. These are the related plans. Related plans are pulled in based on the related assets, right? So if the related assets have their own plans, they will be parked under this one. The links will be available in the PDF file, but the plan itself is not pulled into the PDF file directly. Let's say this has 100 pages of content. Not all the 100 pages of the content will be pulled in, but wherever there is a related plans section in the PDF file, you will see a link similar to this one. You'll be able to click and you'll be able to navigate to that. This is another one enhancement that's done across applications. If you see here, there's a breadcrumb that gets created. You'll be able to see from where you navigated, and you can go back to wherever you started from at any level, right? We've not done any changes to the recovery teams. This remains as such. You'll be able to add recovery teams, loss scenarios, and the risk recovery tasks. These are all, we have maintained it as it is. We've not changed any of these. The major change has been in scope and in the documentation, how the documentation is done and maintained. That is what we have changed in the plans. Okay, before I move into exercises, let me see if there are questions on plans. In the current version, there's a size limit in the documentation section. Does that same size limit apply in this version as well? Yeah. So in the documentation section, if you see the one that we were looking at, this is actually an RTF field, right? So if you're looking at the size limitation, I'm not sure, because this is an RTF field in itself, right? So you can have n number of items in this, and you can also embed an image, or you would be able to embed an entire table. I don't think there's any size limit on this one. One thing is we moved to, we upgraded the TinyMC editor as well. This is an editor used to create the section, right? That is also upgraded, but I can confirm if there is any limitations on this. In BCP, can we create an application record, but how can it be aligned with the CMDB? The alignment with the CMDB happens in the business impact analysis, and the business impact analysis is linked with the business continuity plans, right? How many sections can you have? There's no cap size on the sections. You can have n number of sections. The selection window, is there a way to customize the column choices? Yeah, so whatever I have been showing you, showing you in the selection windows or any of the UIs, all of that is configurable. You'll be able to change that as an admin and can roll it out to all your users, right? Would that be something that we can link to OneDrive in the future, similar to policy and compliance module? So yeah, we will be able to link it to something in OneDrive or Google Drive. So the solution that we are working on currently is to create it as part of the template of the page itself, right? So all of those integrations will be available for all the pages created from that template. So if you see here in the plan, this is all driven by the template, and that's how all of these records are getting your this component and so on. So the template of this page itself will be having an integration with the Word, not Word, what's it called, OneDrive and Google Drive, etc. So that is the solutioning that we are trying to do now. We will be able to achieve that for plans also, because this is all created based on the same template. BCP tables been moved to extended from task. Yeah, so the recovery tasks are extensions of the task table from the platform. That's how it works today. Okay, the 360-degree view, there's a question on that one. So there's one on CMDB from Kevin. We don't write it back to the CMDB directly because there will be, and there are chances that there will be a conflict, right? CMDB is data that is shared by multiple applications. So if there is an update from BCM team and at the same time someone is updating a contradicting value from, let's say, the IT team or ITSM team, the data in the CMDB, we don't want to corrupt it, right? So what we will be doing is we'll create a report and park it where it says these are the additional things that have been created in BCM, and someone from the CMDB team can look at it and then push it back into the CMDB. Okay, there are some more questions. Will attachments added to the BCP recovery task? Yeah, so that is something that we have fixed. So the attachments from the recovery task will move into activated plan tasks. That is something that we did. Do we need a HTML program to configure the PDF for plans and BIAs? That is one more question. I'll try to answer that. Can you set the scope as a template for plans to match? The scope for the template, the scope in the sense not the individual items, but the assets can be set, right? So for example, what I mean by that is when we are looking at this one, so you can say these are the types of assets I want for different plan category or template, but the individual items under that will change from team to team, right? So we have not fixed this as part of the template or category, but this part can be configured by the admin. That is what we are doing. Can we insert fields from CMDB or other source automatically in the plan documentation? That is absolutely doable. You guys will be able to do that. I'll show you what is available in the plan PDF. And
so if there's other things you want to know about risk, those webinars are available now. Vancouver webinars and content will be available in September. So look forward to that. And thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We'll get back to questions. And thanks so much for participating today. It was really, really great.